I'm going to hit record right now and we'll get underway. And since I'm using Collaborate, usually what I do is spend a minute or two talking about that, you know, that within Collaborate, how you can change screens, as I mentioned, but also that there's a fashion for putting up smiley faces or raising your hand and all that stuff. I won't be doing that since it's a small group, but I like to talk about that because when I'm teaching to a class, I really encourage them to be interactive, and I will ask them to respond all the time. But, you know, for just us, I won't be doing that today. Anyway, what I've done is I have put in here a WooClap link in this particular topic of the LMS resource guide. The reason I did that is because faculty who are sitting in on this session will be students when they get there. So after you've set up WooClap, and I'll go into all the details on how to do that as we move forward for the next, 50 minutes. But I'll be showing how to do that. But what's going to happen now is if you don't mind clicking this link, I will as well, and I'll get the teacher interface. I've already got it open, so I'll just click into that tab. But go ahead and click that, and then you'll see this slide that I'm sharing right now on the WooClap screen.
Got it.
Excellent. So what will happen is you can set this up so you're showing the slides and you're showing the questions, or just the questions. And there's 4 variations I'm going to get into. But just so you know, as we get underway, that's what's happening here. And so what I'm going to do today is just walk through sort of the technical side of this, how to set it up. I'm going to go just a little bit of an aside in terms of the pedagogy behind it. But I'm probably going to keep this pretty much just how one can set this up and answer the basic questions as we move forward. And like I said, any questions, please let me know. So I've set this up as a WooClap slideshow, which means basically it's my PowerPoint, which means I don't have to hop in and out of a slide deck to show questions. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a question right now. So if you don't mind, go ahead and read this question. And if you don't mind playing along, Sarah, I really appreciate that. Go ahead and answer this question as best you can, and then Sarah will as well. And then you can look at the screen I'm sharing, and you'll see what it looks like from the instructor's perspective.
Right.
I just want you to have the experience right out of the gate. And you can see now both of you have answered. And there's a way to also add a QR code that I'll get to in a moment on this thing. But so you could log in a couple of different ways. We'll get to that in a moment. Anyways. But it says I've got 2 people who voted, which is handy. So if you're using this for class and you had 16 people in class, you can just sort of wait for that to show up. And then the first thing I do is I click results, because by default, and I'll show you this in a moment, it is not set to show them. And anytime I'm using even a poll or a right-wrong answer, and this has a right-wrong answer clearly, I won't let the students see that, because I really wanted them to be operating, absent one another's input. Now, if this is a live class, this can be a little different than if it's online and they're in different places, but I'll show you the results. And we have a Marks and an Engels, okay, which is terrific because we have one of each. And I can see how the class voted. And this give me a breakout of how many I got for each of these. But now on this side, on my screen, I can mouse over correct answer. And if I click that, it'll tell me which is correct. Okay, so right out of the gate, we sort of see how it works. So I'm going to abandon that first interaction. I just sort of wanted to introduce you to the concept before I walk through a few slides and just tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a little sense of the logic behind the piece and basically how it works in real time, what screens people are expecting to see, and so on. And then I'm going to give a quick demo of about half a dozen of those questions like the one I just showed. Then I'm just going to give a visual walkthrough of the settings that I have in mind for this. And then we're going to go into the 4 kinds. I'm not going to go into detail on all 4, but I'm going to build these in real time. And since it's a small group, I won't do all of these, but I'm going to try to listen to, what you think may be best for you. So that's what we're going to be doing today. But the first thing I'm going to walk through is basically how the logic behind how it works and in whichever setting you happen to be in. So in a live class, the board that I'm sharing with you is the board that they would see if they looked up. So just keeping in mind that you know, you're going to see this in front of you, but you'll also want to be sharing this with your live class. So when you pull up the results I just showed, you know, you'll see basically, you'll be able to share that with the class in real time. Now, they, of course, are going to be sitting at their station. So each of them, you're going to have to ask them to either use their phone, and they can use their phone and log into my courses. But if you're using this consistently, and this is what I did in my ACA class, I said, everybody, because I use it every day. I said, please, everyone, bring their laptop. And if you can't, if you don't have one, you know, I can have one in here for you to log into, no big deal. But I had no problems with that at all. But now you're seeing that the results board is being shown at the front of the room. However, the students are seeing where they're putting the input, same as we are doing here. Now to basically talk about what we're doing here again, this is what we're doing now, is that a person who is distant has to have one tab open that has the question and one tab open that has the instructor or the instructor and the results. So if that makes sense to you. So I'm going to be walking through really what the instructor sees, but since I'm asking you to also have the student experience, you'll have that other tab open. And do me a favor, after we get through the first section, at the very end, I'm going to open up one more question. The cool thing about WooClap is if you have them leave it open the whole time, it'll just stop showing a question. It'll stop showing anything if you choose to have it do that. And then every time you want them to answer a question, all of a sudden it'll be live again. That's true even when you want to put in questions on the fly. It's really terrific. It will just keep that session going as long as they've logged in and you're logged in. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and take that. I'm going to show you a demo of some of the question types here. Now, I'm going to step out of this for a second, which is easy to do. I'm going to hit exit. And now I know, you know, I'm in slide 6, so I can get back there if I need to. I'm going to hit exit, and I want to show you something real fast. I don't build this into the slideshow intentionally, but if I exit my demo, and you're seeing, of course, the instructor interface, what I can do is I can also go to any of these questions that I've made, and then I can go back to my slideshow. So I can go back and forth, and I'll explain this as we're moving. The reason I'm doing this is I want to show you one more thing. There's another way to get into this that I can share just by hitting start like that. Now what this is this is what I could share with a class who didn't log in. So what happens with us, if they're logged into a class, they'll log into the class just like you did. They'll hit the WooClap just like you did. And as a student, it will automatically inform the gradebook if I have scored questions in there. So they don't have to do this. However, if you have a phone and you want to, and really don't feel obligated at any level, I don't want to make this too complicated. But if you're interested, if you put in that QR code, what will happen is you'll basically be able to participate in this through a phone, or if you're out, like have a group of community members or something, and you're talking to them, and you want to use this, you can use that, and you can do the polls and the surveys real easily, or you can have them go to this this URL. I just want to show you that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit back out of this question, and if you look at WooClap right now, you'll see it says raise your head. There's no vote in progress because right now it's not working using the slideshow feature. But I'm going to exit out of here, and as I said, the cool thing is I can go in and out of this while I'm doing other things in class if I change my direction. I go back to start. And it asked me if I want to restart. No, I don't. I want to stick right where I am. But now we're all seeing this as I go through these question types. And I open my own phone so I can also vote since we're a small group. And I'm going to walk through these and sort of pitch the logic behind it of some of the question types here. And I'm not going through all of the question types, but I'm going to show you about 5 or 6 that, you know, should give you an idea of what this thing does. And when you look at the interface itself, it has an example of each one on the interface if you're curious. And so I'm going to go to the question types right now. So this will bring up a question on your side. Now, the first thing I want to point out is that this isn't just a simple, you know, memory device. This is actually an application question for higher order thinking skills. So the first thing we had was pretty straight up, but this we're trying to apply an application, acquired knowledge in a given situation. So the question, which one of the memory systems does a piano tuner mainly use in his occupation? So clearly, you know, in this class, they've been talking about memory systems. And this instructor writes a piano tuner use this? I just think that's a really nice illustration of applying the knowledge you have. And I want to sort of stress that, every time I go through this with faculty, just saying, our multiple choice don't have to be straight up. Very simple. So I'm going to go ahead and vote. And if you guys want to, and if you vote, you also have to hit submit on your phone. And Dan, Sarah, do you guys on the screen? I don't recall. Do you have to vote and then hit submit?
Yes, you do have to hit submit.
Okay, great. That's worth knowing because I've been playing with this a lot. I've gotten into a habit. I wasn't even paying attention. So same thing as before. And I've had 4 votes. I can hit results. Oh, look, one for each of these. And I show the correct answer. All righty. But as soon as I go to correct answer, nobody else can vote. So that's really nice. So especially if this is for points, you can move on to the next thing. But I love this display. This icon here says that it is basically a bar graph display, and I'll show you the other ones as we move forward. And it depends on the interaction what the possibility is. Now this is a better question, and we don't have to spend much time on this, but it's hard for me not to wander into this. That now we're going even beyond application, because this is really so synthesis evaluation levels where people are having to go through something they've learned about. They've learned about economics here, and they're saying in this instance, which of these things is happening. And while we don't have to do that, you can imagine in a class, you'd have to be quiet for, 4 or 5 minutes while the students work through this difficult problem. And then they all vote. And on my side, and I know this isn't true on your side, but on my side, I can just show the full screen. So if this were in class, I might want to do that.
Hey, Kevin, just so you know, JPR is in too.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yep.
And thanks for the heads up, Sarah. And Sarah, really anything I missed that you think I should be adding, feel free to hop in also. I can also go in the upper right-hand corner. I can make this a half screen. So this is just what you can do, free view of what you can do while this is going on. So next thing we'll do is I'm going to go to results, and I can see how the votes were, and then I can see which is correct. And once again, I see number 2 is correct. But this is a terrific question for higher order thinking skills and trying to find ways to develop that. Okay, I'm going to take a second. And hey, JPR, are you going to be able to stay with us?
Hey, I'm here. Kevin.
Excellent. In chat, I've got the link for this. It's the LMS resource guide. If you want to log in, you'll catch up right where we are. It'll show up on the WooClap side. And what we're doing is you're going to go to this guy here where the chat is, and then you're just going to click WooClap, and it will automatically come up to where we are.
I'm there. Thank you.
Awesome. You bet. Thank you. Anyways, so this is another correct answer. And if I choose, I put this in the LMS. I said it was in the grade category, and I said the whole thing is worth 10 points. I do that just like we set up everything else in the LMS, just so you know. That this is this is the last multiple choice I'm going to do, but I still think that there's so many good things you can do with multiple choice in class, but it really does take some thinking. Okay, now I put one more slide up here. This I would use perhaps in that same class where here's the rationale for the answer they just put up there. Now this slide is the built-in slide with WooClap. I'm showing it primarily because you can see how sort of underwhelming it is. The only way to really do slides, in my opinion, in this course or with this tool is to use like PowerPoint or Google Slides and import those, and then they lose their animations and they lose their transitions, but the art stays the same. So I'll move ahead. Here's the next question. Now, this is a simple poll, and I go ahead and think about this for a minute. Are students less prepared now than 10 years or 20 years ago? And each of us has one vote, and it will show up as a bar graph. And I'm going to vote and hit submit. And then JPR, what I was just showing them is right here on this screen, while you've got 2 screens open, you've got the screen I'm sharing as well as the WooClap screen. On the screen I'd show the class, I can see how many people have voted. And if I have 13 students, then I'm just going to sit here and wait till every one of them is voted, right? And I can see the results. Now, there's not a right or wrong. And when I did this some years ago, I was in New York helping host a conference, and we were using clickers back when those first came out. And I asked the same question. People were so generous. They said they were the same or they were more prepared. And I just personally have felt that, but anyways, I won't pursue it. But I love this bar graph for getting a class results. I have so many illustrations of what I'd like to do there. Okay, here's another fun one. This can show as a bar graph or a grid, but I'll use it as a word cloud. But please enter 3 people, and you can use first or last name if that's all you need, but you can put in 2 names. Enter 3 people you would include if you could choose anyone from history. Now, if there's not a correct answer, this won't go to points. I put in a correct answer. So everyone put in 3, please, and take a minute. And I have to hit each answer, I hit submit.
It's a tough question.
Isn't it? Yeah. Well, I don't put in my real answers because I use this a lot. And the nice thing is when you don't put in the first name, you can pretend it's somebody else. Okay. We have like 10 answers in, but you'll see now what's happening is it's showing us how many answers are in, not how many students have replied, which makes a lot of sense if you're really trying to get everyone to answer, what are the 3 things you struggle with most in class, or, what are the 3 kinds of Greek column, but they don't see them. So if I say what 3 kinds of Greek column, I'm going to have a lot of the same answers. I'm going to go to word cloud. And by the way, there is a right answer, which you don't have to do. Ellen Roosevelt. Oh, the mother. That's nice. That's great. Vonnegut. And see, with Monroe, we don't know if that's the president or Marilyn. But anyways, this is fun. And you can tell that we didn't have any similar answers. So none of the words are big. And we all know how word clouds work. But if I were to look at a results list, and you can see there's some value in this, depending on if it's supposed to trigger discussion, the results grid, just different layout, same stuff. What was the correct answer, I wonder? Oh, look, only 8% voted correctly. All right, but anyway, you see there's a lot of value in this for stimulating conversation and stuff in class. And once again, if there are correct answers, they also get points from them. Okay. The thing you're most thankful for, and just one item, please. Okay, and now same thing, and there again, there are just so many ways, and I know that you can both think of how we could use this in a class to trigger conversation moving forward, and nobody's embarrassed because nobody put in the wrong answer. So this is just another terrific interface for aggregating data. I use this in my ACA class a lot for all of this kind of stuff, where we do like the 4 Ps and that, which matter of fact, I think we're going to come up to. Okay, we now have 1 minute. What I need you to do is a drop down. As fast as you can, try to match this with its pair as best you can in the drop down. You've only got 50 seconds left. $22 seconds. Another nice thing about this is you get real responses from students. They don't have a chance to do any looking around or fudging at all. They can't sort, aren't gonna have time to Google their answer. Okay, it says you can't vote anymore. So let's see how this went. Now, these timed activities, I wanted to see one of them. This pairing, this is about as much as you can possibly do on one of these for obvious reasons. If you're on your phone or on a screen, they just take up a lot of space. But what I can do is I can see the most frequent answers. This is valuable in general to have the class get a sense of who basically share this concept. So I can see at the very top of this that salt and pepper was pretty easy, pen and paper, and so on. And then I can go to correct answer. Okay, so we can see how that worked. And there's some, when this might be valuable or not. The nice thing is if you don't pick all the answers, you have more answers hanging there. And once again, I think the timer is interesting because it changes the nature of it. And realistically, having students taught, as you probably are well aware, we give time tests, and they have to be able to think under pressure. So this has value in that regard as well. But it's just one more in a series. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is this is another 30 seconds. See if you can put this in order. The problem with sequence, if you get one wrong, they all might be wrong. And 4, 3, 2, and once again, I want to really be careful when I'm doing this kind of exercise with faculty. This isn't, designed to sort of mess people up that they don't happen to know the Bloom's taxonomy. Not Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, knowledge comprehension application analysis. Awesome. Correct answers and the most frequent answers. Look at that. You guys are awesome. Okay, so once again, you can see the logic behind this, and I'll move on rather. And now the last one I'm going to do today is a group think. So if I give time for people to look this up, that's also fine because I'm having them grope for an answer, and they might need this answer maybe on a quiz I'm going to give. However, you put this in and it's correct, within 10. So we're just trying to see the grouping and the concept of, do people share a sense of what is, what a given number is? Groupthink says if you look at a jar of gumballs, the group is supposed to get closer to that number than an individual. I don't know how that works personally if everyone doesn't have a clue about it, but if everyone put one in, that'd be great. And I'm doing mine on my phone. Okay. And then the most frequent answers, we probably don't have many because they're all over the map, and then we can check it. And the answer was between 188 and 193, and then it probably shows you the correct answer on your device right now. So anyways, there's some value in this. I'm not sure, specifically what it is, but I wanted to give you a sense as a student what's going to go on there. And the next thing I want to do is, since if you want to do this, there's a handful of things and not a large group of things. There's a handful of things that you'll need to know to set it up initially before you start putting in questions, or at some point along the way to make it function in the way you want it to. And it's really pretty simple. But when you go to that WooClap icon and log in, then you'll begin setting it up. But it's an external tool and it opens an external tab. Let me show you what I mean. First thing you'll do is you'll go to whatever course you're putting it in. You'll choose the topic you want to put it in, and you'll go over there and you'll, just like anything else, you'll hit add activity or resource. What that does is that opens this window, and you'll see under activities, and mine is starred, but you'll see in activities there's a WooClap plugin. This plugin is set up to register. The school is already registered with WooClap. So your name, you as instructor, you're already in there. The student, same thing. There's no additional logging in that has to be done. They don't need to know the URL. They don't need to know the QR code. Those just extra. And it's really important that you know that if they use the QR code or they use the URL to get into it, it still records the answers on on the screen, but it doesn't report them to the gradebook because it's not associated with their student ID. Just that makes sense. Okay, the next thing you're going to do when you get in there, what's going to happen is now that you've selected that and you basically have set that up, just, you know, it's an assignment and you've gone in, you've said it's worth 10 points or whatnot, and you've just adjusted the grade like anything else you do. What's going to happen when you click it, it's going to take you to this page. And I'm going to show you this live in a few minutes. And go through as fast or as slow as you guys feel comfortable with, because I want to make sure I'm in your comfort zone. But I'm just going to walk you through this settings page. Clearly you don't have to remember this, but I am recording this. I will be posting it if you choose to look at it a second time.
Dan, do you have a question?
I'm sorry, you're echoing. You have a what? You have a what?
I just wanted to know if you had a question.
I'm sorry, I still couldn't understand. It's probably me echoing. I'm gonna shut off.
Yeah, if you turn your volume down a little bit, that should help, or mute your mic.
Yeah.
But anyways, thanks, Dan. If you do have a question, by all means, just turn on your mic and ask, or if you use the hand raise thing, Cheryl will tell me, because I'm not very good at keeping up with that when I'm going through this. Anyways, this will just take us a couple of minutes to go through, but this is sort of ground zero for how this tool works. The red one there, that means that it's it's an interface that we're doing right now where you're creating poll and multiple choice and survey questions in Vote. So if Vote's the tab chosen, you'll see this interface right here. That's one. And for that, you can do that synchronous and asynchronous, which we'll get to in a moment. 2, participant pace. This is for doing basically a questionnaire that you can put on your site. Students can answer, or you can share files with them. Now, here's the thing. WooClap is designed to work on a website separate from an LMS. If you log into them, you can log in just to WooClap, and you can use this as a polling device, maybe for, your book club or what have you. So you can use that. And in that case, they don't have the tools that we do with the LMS. So we don't need messages, which as you see there, and the participant pace, which is a questionnaire tool, or to share files. We might not even need that, just so you know what that is. Participant pace is something that is for probably non-LMS users. However, if you look over at 5, that's by the square, the rectangle that says, oh, I went to 5. What am I doing? I apologize. 3 is after 2. Let's go to 3. Number 3, it says synchronize with LMS. This will be at the top every time you're in WooClap. And after your students are done, and if you had questions that had scores and you want that to report to the gradebook, it will report in the category you set up in the initial setup of the tool, like everything else in LMS. If you hit synchronize with LMS, this has worked for me every single time, and it gives whatever the point structure is I set it to when I first set up the WooClap interface, as I just showed you. When you click into there, you'll have the usual LMS reference there. So synchronize with LMS means that if as you finish with your interface, hit synchronize. I was told by Scott Paxson, who was using this for real world verification and point keeping in his live classes, where he would ask this every day, if you don't finish the entire slideshow, he said it wasn't reporting reliably to the gradebook. So if you do have a slideshow set up with quiz questions, make sure they've gone through the whole thing, but that's just an aside. Number 4 is the URL, how you set that up. You can edit the URL, but since we're not going to use that, I'm not going to go into it, but that's what that is there. And you can verify, you can personalize it if you choose. 5 now, which I was eager to get to, this is really cool. 5 means that I can pull up any questions I've had in the past. Let me show you what I mean. I'm about to step out of WooClap for a second, and I'm going to show you a live one. Now, if I am going to work on this live one in this other section, and I come over here and I want to see some of these, I want to use the WooClap I used last week, or the WooClap I used in my other course. This import questions is so cool because this is going to work across all the stuff I've done. Look, this is every WooClap I've done to start using this. It's right there. So I don't have to remake these questions. And if I know that this is the one I want to use for this class, I can just choose one of those. So you know, I wanted to go out of that because this is really, I think, a great feature. Here on number 5, import questions means if you've got set questions you tend to use for like icebreakers or whatnot in your class, you don't have to rebuild those every time. And moreover, you don't have to import them from one class to the next. They'll always be there unless you choose to go in and clean up your files and delete some. But that's a great feature. Okay, let's move to 6. Now 6, the green 6, this is the votes page, and that's where you go to start making any of these interfaces. So if I want to have a multiple choice question, clearly I click that. It's really intuitive. I'll show you that as we're getting ready to leave today. But that's what that 6 section, clearly the arrows on either side implied that it scrolls right and left. Okay. Now we're going to go up to 7. 7 is in blue up there, is how you add your slideshow. So to me, if I was going to work from, say, a PowerPoint slides and I had a lecture, it's the same lecture I do every year when I talk about the 4 Ps with my ACA class, and I go through certain steps, and then I ask them one of the questions. And then I talk about what passion is, and then I ask them that question. And then I ask what purpose is. But every one of those I have a slide for. So I'm just going to make my slides in advance in PowerPoint because they look better. And then I'm just going to hit add presentation. And that whole thing slides in just like what you're seeing here. And I'll show you how that looks. But add presentation is really easy to use and cool. Okay, now the last thing I'm going to look at is settings. Settings up there, number 8. If I click that, it will open up this frame right here. So that's what happens when I hit settings. Now, add presentation is in settings, and it's there. It's the same thing. So you can add it either place. You don't have to do a lot of settings, but here's what I recommend. Every time you get in here, go down to where it says results visible by default. That is usually on. So you're going to click that off. You don't want the results visible in a live or in an asynchronous version of it. So I don't know why the default of that is on. But then after you do that, and this is just going to be standard fare, you're going to see me do this at the end as we go through this. I'll click that. I'll go to more settings. And now I don't want to be confusing. The blue and the red text on there, or the big blue and the red text that says choose, I put in there myself. So when you go to the second set of settings, and you need to, if you want to have your slide show up on their device, same as we're doing today, then you've got to come down here on that thing where it says in the red, where it says real time, show slides on participant device in real time, and you turn that on. You don't have to. If you have a live class, maybe they don't have to look at their screen the whole time. They're going to look up at your monitor, as I showed you at the beginning. And then they only look down when there's a question, okay? But if you want the slides to show up on their side for a live presentation, like we're doing today, I had to turn that to on. Okay, below that, it says show slides on participant device asynchronously. If you want to use this instead, but not also, if you want to use this instead as something that students can get into when they go to the LMS and you're not there running it like I'm running it today, then you'll just turn on show slides on participant devices asynchronously. I won't go into the fact this is a new settings that replaces the questionnaire, but trust me, it is sort of new. Speaking of the questionnaire, let me move forward one step. And if I go back to the main page and I hit that participant paste thing that I showed you at the beginning, that allows you to create questionnaires. There's ways to make questionnaires within the LMS that might be easier, except for the fact that if you have created some sessions already in another setting, you can import those, same as I showed you. I can import them from previous WooClaps, if that makes sense. So anyways, those are the basics of this. Now, with that said, I'm going to ask if there are any questions before we get ready to sort of walk into the 4 versions, and I'll just show you, in sort of super speed, how simple they are to create. Okay, well, once again, as I do this, what I plan on doing right now is going through the steps fairly rapidly so that you see them. And And then at the end, I'm going to go back to another question. That said, let me go ahead and I'm going to pull up another tab. And then I'm going to go out of this, back to the course. Okay. Now, by the way, back to my course means it closes that tab and goes back to where you are. Or you can just click back, which is, you can see I now have 2 tabs live. So what will happen if you're doing this a lot, you'll see you have a whole fleet of these tabs up here. Now, I've got a space down here where I'm going to make some of these. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the steps that I just described and show you how easy this is. So this is from scratch. I'm going to hit Add Activity or Resource. I'm going to go to WooClap. This gives me the login information after I go back to it that I need to do for all of my LMS programming, essentially. So I'm going to call this Questions with Slides, or the short version of that. Whoops. Questions with Slides. So this is, I know that this is that, and I want this to be synchronous only. So this is Kevin's note to Kevin, so he remembers that. But on this side, you can do activity completion if you choose. And we all know how that functions. I go to grade, and I don't want to make this high stakes. This is a little in-class activity, but I do them all the time. So I'm just going to make it 10 points. I'm going to put it in the correct category, which I'm putting it in my HP standalone. And then activity completion, I can say I want this to be a grade to be completed. We know how that works, but that's all there is to this step. It's completely what we're used to. And I'm going to return to course so I can log back into it rather than go to save and display, because I want you to see this feature. Okay, so here's what I made. I just made this one. Now, same as making a quiz. After I make it, if I go back to it and click into it, it's gonna open the WooClap tab that's happening up here, and then it's gonna basically get me ready to make that assignment, and it saves as you go. You don't have to hit save all the time. First thing I'm gonna do, as I've said, is I'm gonna come up here to settings. I'm gonna come down here to visible by default. I'm gonna shut that off. I'm gonna go to more settings. And then I'm going to come down here, and I want this to show the slides because I'm doing it like we are today. I don't have to use these. It will function with just questions otherwise. But I want to do this. I would choose show them asynchronously if I wanted students to see them when they logged in, but not mine. Let me show you one thing here. This is a student login on this side. I don't want to get too confusing. This is a student who is logged in. Okay, this is this faux student has logged in. Now, I made one of these where I put in both kinds. I put in a questionnaire, I put in the live kind, and I'm also doing asynchronous. Look what happens when they click that. Right now, it's live, so they want to go. No, it's not live because it's not this one. So if it were live, it'd take me to the questions, but it's not. So now the student can go in and do it without me, or they can go to the questionnaire. I'm showing you this to say that it's sort of confusing. And if you're making one of these and you're going to use it live in class, then only use this setting. And then make a separate one if you're going to make it asynchronous, or make it a separate one still if you're going to use the questionnaire. So there's these different ways of doing that. I don't want to get too far in the weeds because I'm just going to be going through this first one right now. But I've got that, and so I go to back, and watch how easy it is to make this though. I'm choosing to do I'm going to choose to do a multiple choice. No, I take it back. I'll do a word cloud, and I'm just going to indicate favorite singer. And if there's a correct answer, then I put that in there. This is how I did that earlier. And there isn't a favorite singer to this. I hit save. That word cloud is ready. And it would work in real time if I were doing this in our session. So that's how easy that is. If I go to multiple choice, just what you'd think. Okay, so I have that. And then I've got some answers I'm putting in here. W and E, and then R, and of course T. So those are my possible answers. There's my question. I've got to say which is correct, same as everything else we do. Oh, I put those in wrong order. Oh, look at this. I can change the order. That's handy. Now look, it can show a bar chart automatically or a word cloud automatically. You know, I wanted them to be a word cloud maybe automatically. Both can be seen. I'm not going to start now, but I could. I'm going to hit save. And now we're good to go. Now, the last thing I want to show you, and this is really easy. I had a slideshow ready for these important questions. I go to add presentation. I go to add presentation. And then it just wants me to upload whatever PowerPoint I have. And I'll use whatever that is. I'm hoping it's not a big one because it takes a minute. So this is going to upload real quickly. Then it's going to show up over here. It says a presentation is uploaded. And it'll take a minute to convert that PowerPoint to the slides. But what I want to show you is how easy this is to then pop those. It's already changed. That's awesome. What I want to show you is, look at this. If I come down here, it says insert questions. If I insert questions, it will show that to me. But look, here's my slides. Here are my questions. Watch this. I put in how to participate. That's what I want. I want to log in maybe first. I want to put in my favorite singer after that one. I want to put in what is the thing, that question here. I hit save. And I can, if I hit start, this would start for any student who's logged in here. Or I could just go to the questions themselves. So I can do either one of these live because of those settings. Now, that was a lot really fast. Let me reach out if you don't mind. Jennifer, what use cases do you see value in something like this, do you think?
I do a lot of informal check-ins in my live classes where you know, maybe in a single class I might ask them 3 different questions, and I typically have them do hand gestures like the thumbs down, you know, I sort of get it, thumbs up, and this just seems like a more professional way to get that information, and they just love being on their computers. So
I hear you. Dan, what were you thinking?
Are you there?
I sure am. I hear you fine, friend.
All right, I just had to change my headset. I'm getting echoey. Honestly, I'm not really entirely sure. All the classes right now are all live, but next semester I've got one that's entirely asynchronous, and I have one that's kind of a combination hybrid between two different sections. So I could see that very likely being something that will keep both of those courses dynamic and interesting.
Right. Do you tend to teach from a slide deck or not?
I do.
Okay.
Almost exclusively, and
excellent.
Break it up as I can.
Yeah, because that kind of thing, just for that constant verification, I always have them put smiley faces and stuff and collaborate, you know, when I'm using that. Let me pull up this. I asked you this tab open because I was going to show you one last question here, and I can stick around after, but I told you I'd be done at 2:50. So go ahead. This is another one that I really like, but go ahead if you don't mind and rate the value of each of these. And just take a minute. All right, I'm seeing answers going in there. Thank you.
Kevin, I put a 3 for asynchronous, just mainly because I'm not sure yet. I just need to think about it more.
Oh yeah, you bet. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys answering that, and I have lost the ability to answer. What I can do is I can show this as sort of a a bar chart, which is, you know, terrific, and it gives me my averages. And I appreciate you guys you know, feedback for one, but also I think at the end of a class or at the end of a conference, you know, this is a really nice way to aggregate people's opinions without working. And then the other thing is if I come here and Sarah says, she just pointed something out, look at this cool layout. So you can tell, you know, which of these were, you know, had the most hits. So 6 of these is really nice. And let's see, and Sarah just said, she also, what's cool is you can go back in and look at the data after class is over, then reset it for another group. Oh yeah, that's right. So what I can do, and thanks, Sarah, I love this question and I appreciate your feedback. But I can hold this out and just watch part of it, you know, look at it in class, and then I know that for my next class I want to use the same tool, so I can export these, and that's in the settings feature. The other thing I can do though is if I go back to the tool itself, like this one here, I can just go to the bottom of that, hit reset, and it says, "Are you sure?" I say, "Yes, I am." So that makes it ready to go. Anyways, if there's other questions or some you want to work on building one of these or have me help you, let me know that. But also, please spread the word. And I'll stay here if either of you have any more questions. And I appreciate you letting me walk through that with you.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
Good teaching, Kevin. I really like how at the end you went through and quickly showed the steps for me. That helped me to put it together in my mind. Thank you.
Okay, and I am curious if you have desk lamps or any of the extension arm lamps. Those are great for instead of having a ring light in your office, Jen.
I saw that. I need to go.
Okay, well, I will see you next week on that. Anyways, and thanks so much for coming in. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank
Have a great
you.
day.